What's going on, Bears fans? My name's Aaron, aka Aaron Currant. You can find me on X and my co-host here, Kris Brown. We're going to talk a little bit about Chicago Bears running backs today. Do you think that they have the horses on the roster to roll into the season as they are now, or do they need to delve into free agency a little bit later? We'll get into all that and more right here on Chicago Sports Podcast.
Let's go. Yo. Get up, nah I ain't a quitter. Toss me the ball, I'm a really big hitter. Big picture, I'm a straight killer. Rising the song to the highest bidder. Got juice, got gas, I'ma move fast. New shoes, new tracks, like who's that? I'm new, come back better than last. Yeah, it's a new me, never gonna look back. Never gonna look back. Cause damn, I was built to last. You move slow and I move fast. And that's facts.
Welcome into the Chicago Sports Podcast, the Bears on Tracks with myself, Aaron Currant, and my co-host Kris Brown here. Like I said, we're going to talk a little bit about the running backs room, what we currently have on the depth, the guy that we drafted a little bit later than a lot of people expected, and maybe delve into some free agency options the Bears might look into. Kris, if you want to introduce yourself, let the Bears fans out there know how you're doing tonight, man.
Hey Bears fans, I'm doing wonderful. How you guys doing tonight? Hopefully we get some have some good times. Talk about this running back room, seeing if we need to venture out and add some more horsepower to the running back room. So we're gonna see what goes down tonight.
Absolutely, absolutely. So basically, the running back room as it sits, RB1 is again DeAndre Swift, as it was last year, and he ran for 900 plus yards and received for 300 plus yards. So, he put up some decent numbers with the offensive line that just left a lot to be desired. Let's be honest. Um, and I'm wondering, a lot of Bears fans that wanted to attack it early in the draft. I mean, I even heard people talking about let's trade up and grab Ashton Genty, which he goes at 6, so he had no shot at. And Ryan Poles talked about how much that would have costed to move up to get him. And behind him, you have Roschon Johnson, who's a good short yardage back. They use him at the goal line, but he's a power back, and now he's having concussion issues, and that is questionable to me. I mean, if you're using your head as a battering ram and and that's what you're used for, and you got to look out for, but also the player. Behind him, you have, as of right now, you have Travis Homer, who they brought in from Seattle a few years ago. He's more of a special teams back, and they did draft Kyle Monangai out of Rutgers. I don't know if you've looked anything up on this guy, Kris, but he ran for 669 carries at Rutgers and has the record for 0 fumbles in college, that's just a crazy amount of touches with no fumbles. He did run a 4.6, so he's not the fastest. He dropped to the 7th round for the Bears to grab, but overall, the way our running back room looks, Kris, what are your thoughts on the running back room as is? Do you think, hey, the upgrades we made on O line can help this out a lot, or what are your thoughts overall on the running back room?
I think the running back room is fine the way it is, but at the same time, if you want to look at some veterans to just add some more like leadership to the room, then by all means. I mean, you have a guy like Nick Chubb, and when we think of Nick Chubb, everybody thinks of last season. Nick Chubb was coming off of a gruesome knee injury, and so what happens is I've said this before. It's like it's a mind thing. It's a subconscious thing. Got to be able to trust that knee to make cuts and run full speed and do what you got to do at that position. So as far as the running backs we have, I mean, if you want to bring him in just to, just in case of Roshan Johnson gets hurt again, or just to bring up a Kamanan guy, give him some more veteran leadership, then by all means. But I really do think we have what it takes because of the fact that we retooled the offensive line and we got one of the best guards in the NFL, Joe Tooney. So I'm all for it.
Yeah, and speaking of Joe Tooney, it was rumors that I saw on X today that they're kind of trying to line out a 2-year contract for him, which I think will give us a little more flexibility as far as the salary cap goes. I love the idea of Nick Chubb. I've seen a lot of people online kind of poo-poo the idea of bringing in a Nick Chubb. Again, like you said, Chris, people remember the injuries and they're starting to pile up. He is 29 years old, and the last time he was fully healthy was an all-pro season for the Cleveland Browns. But the Browns went out in the draft and drafted one of my favorite backs in the draft, which was Quinshawn Judkins out of Ohio State. And they also double dipped later and grabbed Dylan Sampson out of Tennessee. So they really filled their running back room through the draft, and there's really not a spot for Nick Chubb there anymore, even though he was an all-pro and he's done a lot for the city. They did have a guy on the radio. His last name was Carmen. I think it was Ken Carmen from 92.3 The Fan in Cleveland, who said he had heard that he was rumored to come to an NFC North team. I feel like that's either us or the Vikings, and I think he's a great fit here. I mean, the upgrades we've made on the offensive line with Joe Tooney, and we brought in Drew Dahlman, and we brought in Jonah Jackson, who we traded for. You get those upgrades on the offensive line, and don't sleep on Ozzie Trapillo, who they drafted in the second round. He could play left or right tackle. So you get those upgrades on the O line, and then you bring in a game changer like Nick Chubb, along with DeAndre Swift, who played together in the backfield at Georgia. I mean, I like the idea of it. A lot of people are worried about the injuries again, but some of the other names that have popped up that I've seen, J.K. Dobbins is the name that's been floated out there. But again, you worry about the same thing with him, with injuries out of Ohio State. Drafted to Baltimore, had a good rookie year, and then the injuries started to pile up. Last year, he had a really good year, 900 plus yards and 9 touchdowns on the ground for Jim Harbaugh out there in LA. Do you think J.K. Dobbins could be a fit here, or does his injury history concern you at all, Chris?
I honestly think the injury history with J.K. Dobbins concerns me more than Nick Chubb because it's been more frequent. And with Nick Chubb, it's mainly been his knees or like a soft tissue type of injury that keeps him out probably like a week or two. With J.K. Dobbins, a lot of them have been season-ending, torn ACL, torn Achilles, and even this past season he was out for a couple of weeks with another ligament injury in his knee. So I like J.K. Dobbins as a talent, absolutely be a great fit. But it's just the fact that he's injured too often. I mean, I love watching the guy run. It's just you can't. The best ability is availability. You can't be available. That talent
Absolutely.
can't be put to use, man.
Yeah. I'm right there with you, Chris. I feel like we're step for step in a lot of this stuff, and I mean, it might make for a quick show. I don't know, but yeah, yeah, like you said, man, the injuries started piling up, and they were season ending stuff, and it just. I meant to mention this earlier. Chicago. A lot of Bears fans are fans because of sweetness,
Mhm.
so the running back position in Chicago is extremely important. I mean, you got 3-4, the GOAT in a lot of our opinions. After him, you got Matt Forte, you got the A train, the running back position in Chicago, because we haven't had that quarterback to hold down the position. Is really synonymous with our great teams, in my opinion. And it would really help Caleb out a lot too. I mean, what's the that's what Jim Harbaugh said he was going to get for Justin Herbert to help him out in LA. He said, "I'm going to get him a running game."
Mhm.
It takes the pressure off your quarterback. It doesn't make him make all the plays, and although Caleb likes to run around and play that hero ball, you don't you don't want him to have to do that all the time. The final name that I wanted to bring up was Jamaal Williams, and he's a 30-year-old running back, so he's starting to get up there in age. But he did play with Ben Johnson with the Detroit Lions. Him and I think it was with Swift. They accounted for a top 12 running tandem in Detroit that we saw after Detroit, worked on their offensive line and helped with Ben Johnson. He played with the Packers before that, but this last year he went to the Saints, and it just didn't really hit. I think he had 300 yards. Starting to worry if he may have, if is he washed or cooked, as they say. Is he over the hill? That 30 years, that 30-year-old threshold kind of hurts. I do know if they were to bring him in, my son is a huge Pokemon fan, and if you've ever heard him in interviews, I feel like Jamaal Williams would be the kid's favorite. What do you think about
Oh,
Jamaal Williams, Chris?
you talk about the Kaze Kage, the hidden leaf. That's what you're talking about. Oh yeah, yeah. See, the thing with Jamal Jamal Williams is he's one of those guys that can run with power and he runs with an attitude. And the thing is, that tandem with him and Swift that year, he actually broke a Lions record with rushing touchdowns within a season. Now, people can look at that the 30 ball when it comes to running backs as something that's extremely significant. The thing that a lot of people don't think about is with some of these running backs, it's the carries. And so sometimes if you're a 30-year-old running back and you don't have a lot of tread on those tires, you're still moving like you're 28, 29 because your body hasn't taken a lot of that punishment. So like if they think Jamal Williams is the way to go because of the history he has with DeAndre Swift in the backfield, that actually makes a better acquisition just because of the fact he doesn't have that nagging injury history, and so
Mhm.
it seems like more of a solid pickup. And because of the fact that he doesn't have that resume that the other two backs would have, well, like Nick Chubb would have, then you don't have to really worry about the salary cap and how much money you're going to have to put into it. So, but with Jamal Williams, especially if you want him to fill in for Roshan Johnson if he gets hurt, that's an excellent pickup. I honestly prefer that over the other two, even though those other two I feel can be more talented. But the fact is they're not as available as the Jamal Williams.
Yeah, I love the point you gave there about the tread on the tires. I remember if you can't tell by my accent, I'm an SEC guy. So I always heard it running backs coming out of Alabama or out of Georgia or any of those places where, well, look at all the carries he's getting in college. This guy's coming into the pros with all this tread on his tires. That's an excellent point. And I personally prefer the idea of Nick Chubb, but I could definitely see why you would go with Jamaal Williams. Like you said, I mean, he's already been in this Ben Johnson offense. He knows what's expected of him. He's already worked hand in hand with DeAndre Swift. It would be uh, almost a seamless transition, you would think. And I really love the upgrades we've made on the offensive line. I think it's going to go a long way for us this season. I know this is a running back show, but football's the ultimate team sport. You can't do anything by just one player. I mean, we've seen it how many times. I mean, even the GOAT Tom Brady had a great O line, a great defense, a pretty good play caller who's down at UNC now. But yeah, what is your of the pickups that Ryan Poles has done in free agency? I'm kind of throwing you a curveball here, Chris. What do you think his best pickup was this offseason? Obviously, you could easily say Joe Tooney with his all pro season at left guard, but is there another guy that sticks out to you, or do you think that's definitely the one to zero in on?
I would say like the other pick, Colston from Michigan, just because of the simple fact that he's more of a solidified. He's seen as a solidified blocker. If you're the guy that just watches the game, because when you looked at Michigan's film, they were a run first type of offense. But when you actually look into the film of him throughout his career in Michigan, he actually is a pretty good pass catcher, smooth route runner. So I honestly think out of the first round, he could be one of those sleepers where it's just like you know when we look at who can shine bright out of the first round picks, he might be able to show up and show out more just because of the fact now he's on an offense where your head coach uses the tight ends a lot, especially running, blocking, and catching the ball. And he uses them in so many different ways. And it just throws the defense off every time because you can't key on anything. Everything could be a run or a pass, no matter how you line up. He's actually in a dream situation, honestly.
Yeah, I mean, great, another great point, man. I'm loving your energy tonight. Colson Loveland, I didn't see the pick coming, but I'm an NFL draft nerd, if I could say that. I mean, I start doing these mock drafts around Thanksgiving, which I would love to stop doing that if the Bears would start putting wins together. And
Those
but
mock drafts
yeah,
be
I didn't
having you
have Colson
scratching your
Loveland.
head.
I mean,
They be having you like,
absolutely, absolutely. Yeah. I personally was hoping one of those offensive linemen would fall, but after watching three of them go, Kelvin Banks going off right before us, I love the pick in Colson Loveland. Like you said, not only a receiver threat, but an excellent blocker as well. And not just blocking those undersized DBs. This is a guy who sets the edge against big defensive ends in the Big Ten, which is synonymous with the SEC. I mean, they've won the last two national championships, the Big Ten has. So, yeah, and he lost his quarterback to the NFL. He'll be playing against him in Minnesota, and he kind of had to adjust his game this year. There was times where I heard scouts say, yeah, he's out there running wide open, but the quarterback just didn't know how to get the ball to him, or didn't have the arm strength, or whatever the problem may be. I really think that the addition of Colson Loveland, and even Ian Rappaport said there was a lot of teams trying to call and trade up in the NFL draft, and as soon as Colson Loveland's name was called and he came off the board, the call stopped. So he was kind of the belle of the ball, which was a shock to me. I expected it with Ashton Genty, um, and to some extent Tyler Warren, because that's just the name that I had heard. But yeah, I love the pick. I think it's a great selection. I don't know if has it come out what number he's wearing, because obviously 18's taken, and that's what he wore at Michigan. So that'll be something.
I haven't heard about the number for Colston Loveland. I got to look deeper into that. I mean, a Colston Loveland jersey would look lovely right about now. I totally agree. So I mean, yeah. He is, the thing about it is that I'm just happy that the simple fact we were able to get him, because obviously other teams are able to see that even though he didn't have the ball in his hands so much, like his talent was able to shine on the film. So I can't wait till next to this season coming up and just see what he does on the field.
I definitely think this season will be. I mean, they've set the over under at 8.5, and I was listening to 670 the score earlier, and Joe Osco, who's their bet guy, he said Bears fans are already pushing the win total up, betting the over on the win total at 8.5. So we do it every year. We talk ourselves into it, and hopefully this year they can give us a little something to cheer about. I mean, I know my Cubs right now are, or at least when I came in here, they were winning. So we'll see if that continues. But yeah, I think we've had a really good discussion. We talked about some free agency. We talked about the kid we drafted. We talked about the current depth chart, and I feel like we covered all the bases, Kris. I know it's a short show, but I'm not sure what else we could talk about. Maybe next week, if it's cool with you, kind of do some on-air production. We'll cover another position that a lot of people are, which is that edge rusher position, opposite Montez Sweat, and we can talk about, again, like we did with the running backs. We talk about who we've brought in, who we want to maybe step up in their positions, and stuff like that. If that's cool with you, but yeah, if that's everything, man, we'll just close this thing on out. If you want to say your goodbyes.
That's definitely cool with me. anything football is cool with me. I'm all game for it. So you know what I'm saying? I'm just shout out to y'all for, just tuning in or whatever. You know what I'm saying? I gotta thank y'all, love y'all so much. Thank you for your time.
Yeah, we had some people in the chat giving their opinions for sure. And if you're listening to this at a later time on YouTube with Chicago Sports Podcast, you can leave your comment there and say, I think it's a bad idea, or the Jamaal Williams idea, or maybe you can come back and tell us a guy that we didn't even mention. I haven't scoured the free agency list to see everybody. Those are just the names that I had heard on the radio and in comment sections on Facebook and YouTube, etc. But yeah, we'll come back next week and we'll talk about some other positions. But until then, just stay tuned right here to Chicago Sports Podcast. Like, comment, subscribe, hit the notification bell to tell you every time we go live. We have shows every single day, so we cover the Bears and all kinds of Chicago sports overall. But until next week, me and Chris will just leave y'all with a bear down.